Guys, I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. I'm just a normal 15-year-old kid at least. I was until yesterday. In the past 24 hours, everything has fallen apart. And I mean everything. Yesterday started like any other boring Wednesday. School, homework, staying up way too late drinking Mountain Dew and sucking at video games. Nothing out of the ordinary. But this morning I woke up to the loudest emergency alert blaring from the TV. The screen was glitchy and grainy, showing a breaking news broadcast about some kind of outbreak, some disease spreading like wildfire. The symptoms? Extreme aggression and paranoia. The news anchor looked like he was barely holding it together. My dad, being the conspiracy nut he is, just scoffed, muttered something about government lies and switched the TV off. But something about the whole thing made my stomach twist. Something felt wrong. Then I went to school, and that's when everything got really messed up. People were staring at me. Not in a casual way like full-on, wide-eyed, unmoving stares. I'm not exactly the most popular guy around, so this was weird as hell. Even Joseph, who usually greets me by slugging my arm and throwing some dumb insult my way, just gave me this freaked-out sideways glance and avoided me completely. It was like he was scared of me. And then came history class. I dozed off for, 5 minutes? Ms. Davis's lectures could put a hyperactive kid into a coma, but when I opened my eyes again, the entire classroom was in chaos. Everyone was screaming and pointing at me. Before I could even react, they attacked. They weren't just shoving me around. These were full-on punches, hard hits, wild kicks, like they wanted to rip me apart. Even Ms. Davis joined in, swinging her purse like a weapon. I barely had time to defend myself. I think I hit someone back. Think I punched Ms. Davis. I remember seeing blood. And then, everything went black. When I woke up, I was in the school bathroom. My head was pounding. My face was wet. And when I touched it, my fingers came away bloody. I think I had a concussion or something. My vision was blurry, and my body felt sluggish. I tried to cry because, God, I was terrified, but no tears came out. I just wanted to go home. I needed to see my mom, to hear her tell me everything was okay. But when I walked through the front door, she was waiting for me. She was standing in the kitchen, gripping a knife in both hands. Her eyes were vacant, hollow, wrong. "Stay away from me," she rasped. Her voice sounded wrong too, like something was clawing its way out of her throat. I just wanted a hug, just a little bit of comfort after the worst day of my life. But then she lunged at me. She tried to stab me. The first swing missed. The second didn't. The knife slashed into my shoulder. I didn't even feel the pain at first. Elle was so shocked, so confused. But then something else took over. A burning, boiling rage. Like I wasn't in control anymore. Like I was watching myself from outside my own body. I shoved her back harder than I thought possible and ran. Now I'm hiding in this abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. The place is dusty, empty, cold. But it's the only safe place I could think of. I can hear sirens in the distance. I've seen at least half a dozen cop cars sweeping the streets. The whole town is on lockdown. They're looking for me. I'm the only one left who isn't infected. Everyone else has turned into these aggressive, paranoid lunatics, just like the TV warned. I managed to latch onto a Wi-Fi signal from a nearby store, just long enough to post this. If there's anyone else out there, anyone normal, please, help me. I don't know how much longer I can last. My head is splitting, my shoulder is throbbing, and worst of all, I feel something else bubbling inside me, a raw, uncontrollable anger. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want this to be over. Edit. Wait. Oh God, no, 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 no. I just caught my reflection in a broken window. My eyes are completely bloodshot. There's a disgusting rash crawling up my neck. My veins, they're bulging black and thick like they're rotting. And the worst part, I can't remember what happened. I can't remember running here. I can't remember pushing my mom. There's just blank spots. Oh God, I'm the infected one, aren't I? They weren't trying to hurt me. They were trying to stop me. I am the danger. What have I done? What am I going to do? Please, someone, anyone, help me before I hurt anyone else. I don't want to be this monster. I really don't. Before we dive into the second story, if you enjoyed the first one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. It really helps me create more terrifying stories for you. Let me know in the comments what you think so far. Ethan Brooks had built his career on dismantling myths. From UFO sightings in Nevada to haunted hospitals in Pennsylvania, his investigative journalism was dedicated to uncovering the truth behind urban legends. Superstition, he believed, was nothing more than a human coping mechanism, our way of making sense of the unknown. That's why when Holloway House came up in his research, he couldn't resist. The infamous mansion on Black Hollow Road was the site of one of the most brutal unsolved cases in the country. Dr. Thomas Holloway, a renowned psychologist, had murdered his wife and 2 children before vanishing. No body was ever found. Theories ranged from mental breakdowns to supernatural possession, but Ethan was certain of one thing. The truth was buried under decades of fear and embellishment. Before setting foot inside, he did his homework. He combed through police reports, old news articles, and even reached out to a retired detective who had investigated the case. But every file led to dead ends, missing evidence, and conflicting accounts. It was almost as if the story had been altered. Still, Ethan wasn't deterred. If anything, it made him more eager to expose whatever tricks had kept this legend alive for so long. He packed his equipment, cameras, voice recorders, motion sensors, and drove to Black Hollow Road, ready to prove that ghosts didn't exist. But deep down, something gnawed at him, a memory. His mother whispering to him as a child, "Never listen when the walls talk, Ethan. They lie." He never knew what she meant, until now. The house greeted him with silence. Dust hung in the air, undisturbed. The floor groaned beneath his boots as he stepped inside, dragging his suitcase behind him. He set up camp in the old study, the same room where Dr. Holloway had recorded his infamous patient sessions. The first few hours were uneventful. He recorded some preliminary footage, took notes on the layout, and even made a call to his editor, assuring her that there was nothing out of the ordinary. Then at 2:33 a.m., his motion sensor beeped. He glanced at his laptop screen. A shadow had moved in the hallway. Ethan grabbed his camera and stepped out cautiously. The hallway was empty, but the air was wrong, colder, heavier. Then the whisper. "Ethan." His breath caught. He spun around, shining his flashlight through the darkness. Nothing. His pulse quickened. He wasn't about to jump to conclusions. The house was old, filled with drafts and shifting wood. He returned to the study, shaking his head. But as he reviewed the footage, his stomach twisted. The shadow wasn't just a blur. It had eyes. Ethan refused to panic. He needed more evidence. The next day, he set up cameras in every major room, ensuring that no movement would go unnoticed. He even left his voice recorder running overnight. At dawn, he checked the footage. Every camera was blank, as if something had wiped them. A cold sweat ran down his back. That wasn't possible. He had triple-checked the batteries, the settings, the memory cards. There was no logical explanation. Frustrated, he turned to the voice recorder. He pressed play. Static. Then a faint whisper. "They took him. He is ours now." Ethan's blood ran cold. He rewound, played it again. The whisper was unmistakable, but worse, beneath it, he could hear something else. Breathing. Right next to the microphone. He had to know more. Digging through the house, he found something the police had overlooked, a hidden crawl space behind the study. Inside, he discovered a stack of old reel-to-reel tapes, each labeled with a date. The earliest was from 1972. Dr. Holloway's voice crackled to life. Day 12. The whispers have started. Ethan leaned in. They call themselves the Whisperer. They do not speak in singularity. They are many. They do not haunt this house. They live in it. Ethan's fingers tightened around the recorder. The walls, Holloway continued, they are not walls. They are veils. This house is a door, and it is opening. A pause, then a whisper. You were not supposed to find this. Ethan's breath hitched. The whisper was not from the tape. It was behind him. He ran, bolted down the hall, towards the front door. But the architecture had changed. The hallway stretched longer than before. The wallpaper seemed to breathe. The house was shifting. The walls pulsed as if something was inside them, pressing against the thin barrier between worlds. Then the whispers grew louder. Not words, laughter. A cruel, knowing laughter that filled every inch of space. And then, silence. Ethan found himself standing in the study again. Had he moved? Or had the house moved him? The voice recorder in his hand beeped. A new recording. But he hadn't pressed record. With trembling hands, he hit play. Static. Then, Ethan Brooks. We know you now, his own voice replied. Who are you? Silence. Then, we are the ones who whisper. We are what remains when the mind unravels. We do not haunt. We become. Ethan's grip on the recorder tightened. His thoughts felt wrong, disjointed, like something was rewriting them. He had to leave. Now Ethan was never found. His cameras, laptops, and notes were discovered in the study, but there was no sign of him. The only clue? A final video file left open on his laptop. The footage showed Ethan sitting in front of the camera, his eyes sunken, his expression vacant. He spoke in a voice that was barely his own. They don't haunt you, they become you. Then he smiled, and the screen cut to black. The house still stands, and sometimes at night, if you press your ear to the walls, you can hear him whispering. I used to think my reflection was just that, a reflection, a perfect, thoughtless mimic. Now, I know better. And if you're reading this, you need to listen. It started subtly, so subtly I almost ignored it. At first it was just a feeling, a strange pressure in the air whenever I stood in front of a mirror, like I wasn't alone. I'd catch glimpses of my reflection in passing, store windows, the dark screen of my laptop, my bathroom mirror, and something always felt off. Maybe it was exhaustion, too many sleepless nights, too much caffeine. That's what I told myself, until the night I saw it. I was brushing my teeth, routine, normal. I lifted my toothbrush and my reflection hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. But I saw it. I froze, my heart hammering against my ribs. My reflection stared back, still as stone. Then, like nothing had happened, it copied my movement. Perfectly. I laughed it off. Just my mind playing tricks. But as I turned off the light and left the bathroom, I swear, I saw something shift in the mirror. Something stepping back. Something waiting. The next morning, I woke up feeling wrong. My body was heavy, my limbs sluggish. The air in my apartment felt thicker. I stumbled to the bathroom, rubbing my face, and that's when I saw it. A handprint, pressed against the inside of the mirror. Smudged fingerprints, too large to be mine. I reached out, my fingers trembling, touching the cold glass. The print didn't smear. It was beneath the surface. My stomach clenched. My breath came too fast. It's just condensation, an old smudge, something explainable. But deep down I knew. Something had pressed its hand against the other side. Something that wasn't me. That night I covered the mirror with a towel, but it didn't stop the whispers. Soft, curling voices at the edge of my hearing. When I washed dishes, when I walked past dark windows. I started avoiding mirrors altogether, but the feeling didn't leave. Things in my apartment weren't where I left them. My bed felt cold in places I hadn't slept. My phone alarm went off at 3 a.m., a time I hadn't set. And then one night I woke up gasping because I wasn't alone. A figure stood at the foot of my bed. I saw its shape in the dark. A person, but not. The edges of it rippled, like I was seeing it through warped glass. And then it was gone. I didn't go back to sleep. The mirror broke, but not like glass should. At dawn, I ripped the towel off the mirror. I had to see nothing, just my reflection. I let out a shaky breath, gripping the sink. Losing it, man. You're losing it. But then, a crack, thin as a spider's thread, running along the edge of the mirror. My stomach dropped. It didn't catch the light like a normal crack. It wasn't on the surface, it was deep, inside the glass. I leaned in. The room was silent except for the sound of my own breathing. Then I saw it, not my reflection. A room, a long, dim hallway on the other side of the mirror, stretching into darkness. And something was standing there, watching me, my own face staring back. But its grin was wrong, too wide, teeth too white, eyes too still. I didn't move, neither did it. Then it lifted its hand and waved. I stumbled back, my pulse slamming in my ears. The mirror shuddered. A jagged crack split down the middle. And then the glass opened, like a doorway. The thing in the mirror stepped forward. It crawled through, moving too smoothly, too eagerly. And then I wasn't in my apartment anymore. The other side, I don't know how long I've been here. Time is different. The mirror is gone. There's only this hallway, dark and endless. And the others. I hear them whispering, the ones who came before me. I was never the first, and I won't be the last. Because he's out there now, wearing my face, living my life, laughing with my friends, replying to my emails, and no one will ever know. So if you're reading this, listen to me. If your reflection lingers just a second too long, if it ever moves when you don't, run. Because one day, when you least expect it, they won't just watch anymore. And when that happens, it's already too late.